The legend of the headless mule. In the depths of the darkest nights, far from the city lights and the comfort of home, there echoes a sound that sends shivers down the spines of even the bravest. This is the tale of the headless mule, a legend that has crossed generations, carrying the weight of curses, mystery and fear. Prepare yourself for a journey into the heart of this dark legend, where reality and folklore meet. Legend has it that the headless mule is the result of a terrible curse. In ancient times, when religious faith governed all aspects of life, a woman committed a sin considered unforgivable. It is said that she had an affair with a priest, breaking the sacred vows of the church. As divine punishment, she was transformed into a fearsome creature, a headless mule, with flames bursting from its neck. The curse did not affect only the woman. At dusk, those who encountered her were marked by panic or, in some cases, never returned to tell the tale. But the woman, or what was left of her, was doomed to wander the nights, galloping aimlessly in search of redemption. Many stories have been told about encounters with the headless mule. One of the most famous occurred in an isolated village in the interior of Brazil. A young farmer named Thomas worked late in his fields. It was a moonless night, and the only sound that filled the air was the croaking of frogs and the rustling of the wind through the trees. Thomas, tired and anxious to return home, heard a strange sound coming from the nearby forest, the rapid galloping of hooves, but without the accompaniment of a voice or a rider. He stopped, his eyes fixed on the darkness. It was then that he saw her. Emerging from the shadows, a huge creature appeared. Its body was that of a thin horse, covered in scars. But most terrifying was the void where its head should have been. From its endless neck, orange and red flames danced in the air, illuminating the darkness around it. The creature neighed, a shrill and terrifying sound, as if it had come straight from hell. Thomas, overcome with terror, began to run. But the headless mule was no ordinary creature. Its legs seemed to float above the ground, and the sound of its hooves echoed in all directions. He stumbled, falling onto the muddy ground, and felt the heat of the flames approaching. In despair, he remembered the words his grandmother had told him about the legend. If you ever come across the headless mule, she would say, throw yourself to the ground and pray. Only faith can ward off such a curse. With no other choice, Thomas closed his eyes and muttered a prayer, his trembling voice trying to overcome the sound of the flames roaring around him. For a moment, the world was silent. When Thomas opened his eyes, the creature had disappeared. Only the smell of burning in the air and the hoof prints on the ground were witnesses to what had happened. He got up, staggering, and ran home. He told no one what he had witnessed, but his life was never the same. Every night, before going to sleep, he prayed to never cross paths with that entity again. The legend of the headless mule lives on, being told in conversation circles, passed down from generation to generation. Is it just a tale to scare the young, or is there some truth behind these stories? We may never know, but one thing is certain, on dark nights, it is best to avoid lonely paths. For you never know what may be waiting in the darkness. The legend of Saci-Pererê. In the depths of the Brazilian forests, where the wind whistles dark secrets and the trees whisper forgotten stories, there lives a figure that causes fear and fascination. He is more than just a mischievous creature, he is a warning of danger, a guardian of nature's secrets. Today, we tell the story of Saci-Pererê, as you have never heard it before. Prepare to immerse yourself in a tale that mixes terror and mystery. They say that Saci-Pererê is a spirit of the forests, but make no mistake, he is also an omen that something terrible is about to happen. It is believed that he appears on nights of a full moon, when the wind forms small whirlwinds and the animals of the forest suddenly fall silent. This story begins with a young man named Ethan, an urban explorer who decided to investigate local legends in an isolated village. Intrigued by the stories of the Saci, he ventured alone into the woods, ignoring the warnings of the locals. As night fell, he found himself surrounded by an unsettling silence, broken only by the sound of distant whistling. As he walked, Ethan noticed that something was watching him. His flashlight began to fail, and a small but violent whirlwind formed in front of him. When the dust cleared, he saw a small, sinister figure, a one-legged young man with a red cap and a pipe that released thick, black smoke. It was the Saci-Pererê. The Saci didn't say a word, but his smile was disturbing. Ethan tried to ignore him, but soon realized that this was impossible. The Saci disappeared and reappeared, always closer, moving among the shadows as if he were part of them. Saci began to play with Ethan, but his pranks were cruel. He made the forest seem like an endless maze, erased the trails and let the sounds of footsteps echo around the young man. Desperate, Ethan remembered what he had heard in the village. To capture Saci, one had to use a bottle and a cross. With his last bit of strength, he found a glass bottle in his backpack and hurriedly drew a cross on it with a pocket knife. When the whirlwind reappeared, Ethan threw the bottle and managed to capture him. But Saci was not willing to surrender. Inside the bottle, he screamed, laughed and threatened, "You may have captured me, but we will not escape each other." Back in the village, Ethan showed his capture to the villagers, but he did not receive the praise he expected. Instead, he was warned, "You shouldn't have messed with him." Saci never forgets. Ignoring the warnings, he kept the bottle in his house, believing he was safe. That same night, strange things began to happen. Objects moved on their own, doors slammed for no reason, and a constant whistling filled the air. Saci, even imprisoned, seemed to control everything around him. Ethan realized he had made a terrible mistake, but it was too late. In the end, the bottle was found broken, and Ethan disappeared without a trace. Some say he was taken by Saci, condemned to wander the forest forever. Others believe he is still trapped somewhere, haunted by the entity he tried to capture. The legend of Saci-Pererê is not just a tale of mischief, it is a warning about respecting the mysteries of nature. What about you? Would you have the courage to face Saci, or would you prefer to leave the forests alone? The legend of the pink dolphin. In the heart of the Amazon, where nature pulsates with life and ancient secrets, there is a legend that defies time. A story of love, seduction and mystery. Today, we will tell the terrifying legend of the pink dolphin. The ancient riverside dwellers say that the pink dolphin is much more than a friendly aquatic animal. During party nights, when the moonlight illuminates the river waters, he transforms into a handsome man, with impeccable clothes and a hat that hides his true identity. He charms the local girls, taking them to dance, only to disappear later. But behind his irresistible charm, there is something dark. Not all the girls who cross his path return home. Those who face him say that his eyes hide deep secrets, as if he carried all the sadness of the waters in his gaze. Clara was a 19-year-old girl, known for her beauty and kindness. During the village festival, while everyone was dancing and celebrating, a mysterious man appeared. He was tall, had a charming smile and an almost hypnotic presence. He wore a white hat that he never took off, even when he entered the hall lit by oil lamps. Clara could not resist the invitation to dance. The man was a perfect dancer, leading her around the hall as if they were the only ones there. But as the night went on, something began to seem strange. He did not eat or drink, and his eyes shone in an almost supernatural way. At the end of the night, he invited her to walk along the riverbank. Mesmerized, Clara accepted. But the villagers, aware of the legend, began to whisper among themselves. Some tried to warn her, but it was too late. The night was clear, and the river looked like a silver mirror. Clara felt a chill run down her spine as the man took her hand and led her closer to the water. He began to talk about the river, its depths, and the secrets it held. Suddenly, Clara noticed something terrible. The man's feet were not touching the ground. They floated lightly above the surface, as if he were not completely human. When she tried to pull away, he held her with superhuman strength. "You belong to the river now," he whispered in a voice that seemed to mix the sound of the water with human words. Desperate, Clara cried out for help. The villagers, hearing the screams, ran to the river with lanterns and machetes. As they approached, they saw the man's figure transform before their eyes. His handsome face disappeared, giving way to the snout of a dolphin, and he dove into the water, taking Clara with him. At dawn, the villagers found only the man's white hat and a piece of Clara's dress stuck to a root. She was never seen again. Some say the dolphin took her to live with him in the depths of the river, while others believe she was transformed into a water spirit, destined to wander forever. Since that day, the village's parties have never been the same. The girls were warned not to accept invitations from strangers, especially those who wore hats to hide their heads. The legend of the pink dolphin lives on, passed down from generation to generation. Some say it is just a tale to scare the young and teach them prudence. But the riverside dwellers know that when night falls, it is best to avoid the riverbanks. After all, the dolphin may be waiting for its next dance.